wanted to change your job? Maybe you wanted to earn more money. You didn't like your boss. Maybe you liked your boss too much. Maybe you just had this feeling in the pit of your tummy that was telling you that you wasn't being fulfilled. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you 3 stories, events from my life where I learned from failure and how you can use those events and those examples and how you can use those examples to enhance your life. To do that, I'm going to have to take you back in time. I want to take you back to 2003, and I want to introduce you to a 23-year-old Natalie Frederick. That was me. I had electric red hair, and I used to wear a studded dog collar. I fancied myself as a bit of a party animal, and I used to live for the weekends, spending a lot of my money and time on drink and drugs. At the time, I lived on the roughest estate in the centre of Birmingham. That was the tower block that I lived in. I lived on the 8th floor. That was my front door. Yes, I painted it myself. Behind that front door was exposed black tiles. I didn't set any money aside for carpet. In fact, I didn't have a fridge. I used to hang my milk in a plastic bag outside the window to keep it chilled, so pretty good that it was cold in Birmingham. I used to wash my clothes in the bath, and I'd spend my money on cigarettes rather than on electric, so the meter quite often went off. I was on my way home from my job in a call centre one day, and I got chased by a group of thugs. They threw bottles at me. One hit my head, and it made me realise that it was no longer safe to live in that flat, and I had to make a change. I had this fanciful idea that I could become a headhunter. You see, I'd heard that recruitment consultants earned big commissions, and they drove fast cars, and they lived in nice houses, good lifestyle. And I thought, I can have some of that. Bit of a problem with that idea. I didn't have any experience. I didn't have a degree. I couldn't drive. And I didn't really look the part. It didn't stop me. I tried to get myself an interview. Funnily enough, nobody wanted to give me that opportunity, but I persisted, and eventually I did get the chance of an interview. It was going really well, and the guy who was interviewing me, we seemed to have this really good rapport. I was getting excited, and then out of the blue, completely out of nowhere, he's pushed his pen across the desk to me and asked me to sell him his pen. So I'm at a bit of a loss, confused. I've picked up the pen and I'm shaking it about and I'm clicking it on and off and I'm saying, well, it's blue and it's plastic and it's cheap and do you want to buy my pen? And he didn't buy the pen and I didn't get the job. And I wallowed in self-pity for a couple of days. Well, I didn't want a job anyway, but I did, and I was still in that flat. I still wanted to make that change. It was important to me. So I kept on phoning, trying to get myself a chance as a recruitment consultant. Months went past, and then somebody else decided they'd see me. 150% into that interview, trying my hardest. Again, it was going really, really well. I even negotiated the same basic salary that I was on and a guarantee of commission. The exact same thing happened. That interviewer pushed his pen across the desk to me. This time I've smiled and I've picked up the pen and I've looked at him and I've said, are you going to be taking notes whilst you're interviewing me today? Yes, he said. So I showed him the pen and I said, well, you're going to need a pen to write those notes. Yes, he said. So I said to him, well, you can buy my pen to write those notes. And he did. He bought the pen, and I got the job, and I was then a recruitment consultant. Thank you. To get ahead in recruitment, I needed to get out and visit my clients. But I didn't drive. How many of you have a current driver's license? How long did it take for you to pass your test? 3 months? 5 years? Anybody just turn up to the test centre without ever taking a lesson before? No. Well, I was full of fanciful ideas, and I thought that I could book in for a 2-week intense driving course with my test at the end, and I would pass. I failed. In fact, it took me 6 attempts at my driving test before I eventually passed. I never failed for the same reason twice, though. And it's fair to say that every time I get in a different car or I drive down a different road, I'm still learning to drive. The average lifespan of a recruitment consultant is 6 months. It's a hard job. There are a lot of no's. In the 14 years that I was in recruitment, I had a lot of no's, but I learned from them. I took those no's and I understood more about what my clients and my candidates wanted to hear or know, and they turned into yeses. Those yeses meant I helped more people to change their careers. I earned more commission. I actually met my husband in recruitment, and my husband and I established our own recruitment business. In 2016, we had a 7-figure turnover. In 2017, I decided I wanted to change my job again. Has anyone here ever tried a diet? Yeah? Even if it was one for one day. Yeah? I've tried a few diets too. Let me introduce you to Natalie Frederick in 2008. She didn't get like that overnight. That was a consequence of working a lot of stressful hours in a sedentary job. Eating and drinking to excess on a regular occurrence. An unexpected pregnancy. And no, I wasn't pregnant there, I was morbidly obese. An underactive thyroid. When I saw that photo, I didn't recognise myself. I hadn't seen it coming, and it's not who I wanted to be. I had a baby, and I just recently had a heart scare, and my husband had proposed. I was going to get married. I didn't want to be a plus-size bride. So I knew I had to make some changes. Now, I had another fanciful idea, this time with my mother-in-law. She got on board with the diet too. We decided that soups were the way forward. So we set about having our soup diet. I remember sitting there across the table from her, and she's grinding the salt and pepper into the soup because it was bland and tasteless. And I remember looking at her thinking, I wish she would go so I could eat something else, because that soup didn't touch the sides. And as soon as she left, I went over the shop, I got 5 chocolate bars, and I'd eaten the lot. First diet, day 1, failed. So, on to the next. I thought I'd try some slimming patches. They worked when I wanted to give up smoking, not when I wanted to lose some weight. And the next diet, and the next diet. Until eventually I had a book that my sister had bought me, and in this book it had some recipes of foods that I actually liked. I just needed to make a few small changes to those foods and I could enjoy the food that I was eating. The weight started to come off. I got confident and I started to exercise, just on the elliptical at first in the gym, then some classes, and then I decided to take up running. As I got confident, I set my sights on a half marathon, and by the time I got married, I'd hit my goal weight for the wedding. A few months passed, and just as I was moving to Spain, I found out I was pregnant with my second child. Inevitably, I gained some weight back. In fact, after I'd finished breastfeeding, all of those foods that I couldn't eat and all of that drink that I couldn't have became available, and I binged. And within 2 months, I'd gained nearly 50% of that weight back. I remember standing on the scales, I was mortified. How could I have let that happen? How could I have done that? I became desperate. I took it together, everything that I thought that I knew, and I banned all carbohydrates. In 1 week, I didn't eat a single piece of fruit or veg. I started running more. The weight was falling off me. I got to my lowest weight ever. And then the weight crept up again. Then it went down again. I couldn't sustain it. To keep the weight off, I had to run more and more and eat less and less until eventually I was living on chicken and asparagus, doing a 10k run and a 2-hour boot camp a day. Not sustainable, and certainly not healthy. I ended up in hospital with meningitis. I was killing myself. I went to a seminar at a gym and I listened to a personal trainer, and it turned out that I didn't know everything that I thought I needed to knew about diets. So I took him on, and he showed me how good it feels to be strong. He made me eat more, reduced all of that cardio that I was doing. He taught me how to lift weights, how to push and pull. I started to build confidence. My body shape changed. I took a sledgehammer and I smashed my scales because the number that they showed me no longer made a bearing on how I felt. I was empowered. It wasn't a challenge to carry my shopping. Before long, that girl on a rock could climb a rope. 2 years ago today, October 26th, 2017, I qualified as a personal trainer, and I now help other people to discover how good your body is designed to feel when you thrive, when you eat foods that make you feel alive. You see, life isn't about how much money you have in your bank account or the number on the scales. Life is not designed for perfection. In life, you're designed to fail. And when you learn from your failures, that adversity, that's where you find growth. Just one more thing before I leave. Take those phones out for me. Show me your mobiles. Just wave them around. Okay? If you've got them switched on, open out your notes. I want you to write something down. Not later. Go on, write it down now. Yeah? I am learning from my failures. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.